Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Fabled Yugioh deck profile for January 2019. Been actually quite a while since the last update to the Fabled deck, and I wanted to bring an update just because it's a really fun deck. The whole point of the deck is just to discard all your different Fabled monsters to have different effects go off, the majority of them being ones that you can special summon your different Fabled monsters to the field, and then use those monsters to get out different synchro monsters, or even now with link format being a thing, you can get for different link monsters on the field, since they don't really, specify or limit you on what you can summon with the different Fabled monsters. And big thanks to my girlfriend Marissa for letting me borrow her deck for the video. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, I run 3 Fabled Grimro. Now the whole point of the Fabled deck is to discard your Fabled monsters for different special summons, but Fabled Grimro lets you, if you control a face-up Fabled monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add 1 Fabled monster from your deck to your hand, except for Fabled Grimro. It really does help just for the search because you can set up all your options you want available to you depending on what Fabled monster you need for the discard or just the effect. So Grimro being able to search out whatever you need just helps for the search, and she's not a once per turn either, so it really does help just being able to have multiple of her in her hand. But just remember, you have to have a Fabled monster on the field, so if you have to use a normal summon or to get one out on the field, or if you already had some other discard cards available to you, you can, as long as you get that other Fabled on the field, you're all set to go. I also run 3 Fabled Cruise. This one helps so much just with the graveyard setup. When this card is discarded to the graveyard, you select 1 level 4 or lower Fabled monster in your graveyard, except this card, and special summon it. So if you have basically Grimro set up in the graveyard for your search, and you search out Cruise, if you already have a card that can discard in your hand, being able to discard Cruise and then special summon out the Grimro really does help, especially in cases like the Fabled Yugioh, if it's a level 1 and special summoned out on the field. Being able to get Grimro means you have automatic access to, I think, one of the best Fabled monsters in the deck, which is the Fabled Reagan, just for the draw power available to you, but we'll get to that later on in the video when we get to the extra deck. I also run 3 Fabled Ganesha. This one helps just for the easy discard. When it's discarded to the graveyard, special summon it, and if it is special summoned this way, it gains 200 attack and is removed from play when it is removed from the field. The biggest negative thing about Ganesha is the fact that it is removed from play, so you can't make use of it anymore in like the graveyard for monster resources. It almost made me want to run maybe some cards that help with banishing, but since Ganesha is really the only monster that gets banished after card effects in the deck, I decided against it, since running 3 just helps for consistency, and you have more to use later on also. And the discard special summon is just that one extra benefit to you as well. So very, very helpful for sure. And I also run 3 Fabled Nozochi. Now, the biggest thing, that you have with Ganesha, Cruise, and Grimro is that they don't have discard effects themselves to use, so I wanted to make sure I have options available to me when I play the deck for discarding, and Nozochi definitely does come in handy with that. During your main phase, you can discard 1 Fabled monster and special summon this card from your hand. When this card is special summoned by this effect, you can special summon 1 level 2 or lower Fabled monster from your hand. So you have the option for an additional special summon from your hand, plus the added discard, depending on if you wanted to go for Cruise or Ganesha available to you. Definitely does help for sure, just with those plays. So running Nozochi at 3 just gives you that discard option. Even if you don't use the second effect for the level 2 or lower, you still have other special summon options available to you when you special summon this card out. And I also run, moving on to some of the other 3 ofs, basically, 3 Fabled Cerberus. Now, like I said, being a synchro deck, you have plenty of tuner options available to you, and one of the easiest ones to use is the Fabled Cerberus, just with the simple effect when it's discarded to the graveyard, special summon it. So if you discard it with Nozochi, most of the time when you discard a Fabled monster with Nozochi, you should expect a special summon to come right after as well. Cerberus being one I use a lot, just for the fact that with Nozochi, if I don't use the other special summon and I just have these 2 cards on the field, it gives me easy access to either a Link monster or Fabled Unicorn or Fabled Godabi, depending on which one I wanted to go for. So definitely 3 Cerberus help with just those easy special summons in the deck. I also run 2 Fabled Yugioh. I dropped this one down to 2. It's been so long since my last Fabled deck profile. I can't remember what the numbers I ran for this card were in the other ones as well. But Yugioh just really helps for the fact that during your main phase, you can discard 1 Fabled monster to special summon this card from your hand. So with the discard off of Yugioh, you have plenty of options available to you for, basically easy special summon and then benefiting from all the different special summons you can do, or just, other effects with the Fabled deck as well with Yugioh. And I also run 2 Fabled Lurry. It's just another Cerberus effect, I would say, just for the fact that when this card is discarded to the graveyard, you special summon it. So even mixed with Yugioh, getting 2 easy special summons on the field, if you had the option available to you to go for like Formula Synchron, you can try that out. But most of the time now, I just like the Link summon, giving you the option for maybe like Hippo Shenengan, Land Fornicus, or even some of your Nightmare monsters for 2 monsters for an easy special summon. Definitely does make it worthy. It looks like there was a little spec right there on the playmat. But other than that, moving on, 1 Fabled Yugioh. Now the reason I like running 1 Fabled Yugioh is that's really all you need with this card. You could discard 1 Fabled monster to the graveyard except Fabled Yugioh to add this card from your graveyard to your hand. So basically, as long as it's in your graveyard, you have a discard engine ready to go. And the one thing I like to run is, we'll get to it in a bit, just for an easy special summon of this card as well. But like I said, just one of it. You can even search it out with Grimro, so there's really no need to have 2 Yugiohs in your graveyard, because you can always just, like I said, make use of that discard. And most of the time, if I need to get in the graveyard faster, Yugioh ends up being my normal summon to have some of the other ones on the field ready to go. And for some of the other one-ofs, I run 1 Fabled Ruby Ruda. This one just helps for a more defensive kind of play. When this face-up card you control is selected as an attack target, you can discard 1 Fabled monster to negate the attack. It's not a once per turn as long as you have the Fabled monsters in your hand ready to go. You can play solid defense, also special summoning themselves off of Ruby Ruda's discard effect. And then if they just keep going after those monsters for attacks, you can just keep on discarding. Plus, I like it also for the fact that Ruby Ruda is a level 4 tuner. So if I don't have the options, like let's say Yugioh and Grimro for Reagan, but I have like Ruby Ruda and Lurry to go for, you have those options available to you for level 5 synchros also in this card. And I also run 1 Morphing Jar, another just first turn setup if you just don't have enough resources for discards or to make some plays. Just setting this card, and even late game, being able to successfully get off the flip and the discard just help to give you some more resources in your hand, and hopefully just push for the plays you needed with the replenish you get after Morphing Jar. And then with Yugioh, a very important card is Tour Guide from the Underworld, just for the fact that when it's normal summon, you special summon 1 level 3 Fiend type monster from your hand or deck. Its effects are negated, obviously, and it cannot be used as a synchro material, but your target is always going to be Yugioh, which is very, very helpful, getting these 2 out on the field. Then using them for a Link summon sets up your arrows to get off more of your Fabled plays. So very, very helpful for sure running both of these. Tour Guide just instantly helps get out Yugioh and into the graveyard after you make your extra deck play. And surprisingly, all the Fabled monsters are light, so to help out with them, I also run 3 Honest. This is just, the best hand trap with depending on what Fabled monsters you have. Even sometimes when I've played, I've baited out with Ruby Ruda for the discards just to stop some of their plays, and when they finally try to attack into either one of them or the other one, thinking, I'm just going to Ruby Ruda, and then instead I Honest, is one of the biggest surprises they didn't see coming for sure, and very, very helpful, just to take care of their monsters as well. And then just for a little hand trap option, I run 2 Ghost Ogre and 2 Effect Veiler to finish off the monster count. You can run Ash Blossom instead if you wanted to take out one or the other, if you had that instead and you didn't want to run either or. But they're tuners, so very, very helpful for that option. But the hand trap option, going up against some specific type of monsters as well, definitely does help against my opponent for sure. So that's why I like to run them, just to finish up the monster count. But that's it for the monsters. Like I said, we run a very big amount of monsters, but they all run very, very well together just for the easy special summons. But for the spells, I run 3 Dark World Dealings. Just an easy draw and discard. You really don't minus off of your discard either, because of the fact that most of the time it'll be a Fable effect that you can make use of. And I also run 2 Monster Reincarnation. Being able to reuse cards off of a discard as well definitely does help, even if I discard a Cruise, get a special summon, and then re-add a Grimro to my hand to research. Definite 2 of for that very reason. As long as you have the discard of a monster, preferably, to go for, it'll work out in the end for sure. And I also run 1 Card Destruction, just another good discard option available to me with the deck for sure. And I also run 1 Soul Charge and 1 Monster Reborn, just for easy special summon. You set up your graveyard so well with this deck, so just having more resources to go for with your extra deck plays definitely does come in handy. I don't really use life points or anything else, so it all goes to Soul Charge, so that definitely does come in handy for sure. And lastly, for the main deck 2, Desynchro, I'm actually going to show a little combo at the end of the video that definitely does help with the Desynchro play and Fabled Reagan. So definitely look forward to it there. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra. I run 2 Fabled Reagan. Like I said, this one is very, very helpful and important with the deck. When it is Synchro Summon, if you have 1 or less cards in your hand, you could draw until you have 2 cards in your hand. So if you use up all the resources or just set up the cards so they're all on your field, basically, you can then make use of Fabled Reagan for the draw 2. And like I said, with the Desynchro play, just being able to, either draw your 2, hopefully set them on the field, and then go back into Reagan, it's just very, very helpful for sure. Or even not Reagan, you have some other plays available to you. And I run 1 Fabled Unicorn. Now this is a very interesting card. While you and your opponent have the same number of cards in hands, negate all spell trap and effects of monsters activated by your opponent and destroy that spell trap or monster. So it's basically a game your opponent has to work around with this card if they have the same number of cards in your hands. So just being able to stop them with Unicorn is a great way to play defensively against your opponent. And also another defensive card is the Fabled Yugioh, getting effects based on how many cards you have in your hand. If you have 3 or more, you destroy this card during the end phase, but if it has 0, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Like I said, great defensive card for that no card in hand. Makes you want to play basically without any cards in hand to make use of that protection that this card can provide. And I also run 1 Fabled Valkyrus and 1 Fabled Leviathan. They're kind of bigger synchro plays. If you didn't want to run these cards over some other lower level ones, you could take them out and put, Stardust, a Charge Warrior, and Armades or Chambara, just to have some other 5 and 6 synchro options, or even Ancient Sacred Wyvern. But if you want to go more of a Fabled pure deck, then you can put these in here. But like I said, they're bigger synchro plays, so a little more difficult to summon out as well. But if you want to stay with some lower level synchro plays, then you can go for the recommendations I just gave. And lastly, for these synchros, 1 Black Rose Dragon and 1 Psyframe Lord Omega, just for, good options for your synchro plays when you can make them. They definitely do help. And then for the Link monsters, I run 2 Hit Potion Engen. Like I said, with the majority of the light monsters you run in the deck, you're very, able to just make out different plays with your Link monsters to open up some arrows for your synchro plays. And Hit Potion Engen with the light recycle just comes in handy a whole lot more. And I also run 1 Underclock Taker and 1 Land Fornicus. I run these. Most of the time I do like to go into Hit Potion Engen, but if I have like Tour Guide or something like that and I need that option available to me, these cards definitely do help. Underclock if I need to get over some big monsters, Land Fornicus if I want more arrows for the synchro plays, obviously. I like to have both of those options available to me, even if I maybe go for them with some Fabled monsters also. And lastly, 1 Borolo Dragon and 1 Nightmare Cerberus and 1 Nightmare Phoenix to finish off the extra deck. If you have Nightmare Unicorn and you want to run that instead, it helps because these cards obviously use discard effects. You could put that in instead of the Borolo Dragon. I just didn't have a Unicorn to run, but like I said, very good option for sure with the Nightmare monsters you can run in the deck. And I also, like I said, wanted to basically show a play that works very, very well with Reagan and Desynchro. Just for extra pluses, you have, let's say you have the options available to you for your easy synchro play. Just for some examples, we're going to go with just 2 monsters on the field. Let's say you set up your Fabled Grimro off of, if you discarded Fabled Cruise with Chawa had Grimro in the graveyard and special summoned Grimro off of the Cruise from the graveyard, and you had Chawa on the field from its own special summon effect after discarding Cruise, and you have either no cards in your hand, or if you have the Desynchro or other cards already on the field, you can set the Desynchro, have these two cards on the field, ready to go, no cards in hand, then you Synchro Summon into the Fabled Reagan, and it will go in the extra monster zone, obviously, but then Reagan's effect will activate if you have one or less cards in hand. You'll draw two cards. Let's say, example, you draw, probably the luckiest thing you could draw, but just cards that you could either make use of, so it can either be the two, special summon cards I showed you here, or it could be Nozochi and, Cerberus. You have plenty of options of what it could be, but if they're spells, then you would obviously want to set them on the field, or you can even draw into the Desynchro and make use of them like that. But basically, if the Desynchro is on the field, these are in your hand, you want to make use of them, so you'll use Nozochi to discard Cerberus to special summon it and itself, and then you will activate your Desynchro, getting rid of the Reagan and bringing back the two cards you already used, and then you can either use the two cards that you drew into with the first Reagan to go into a Link monster onto the field. So like I said, most of the time I like to go for Hit Potion Engen, and then once again, having no cards in your hand, go for Grimro and Chawa into the Fabled Reagan with the arrow now pointing at Reagan, and then being able to hopefully draw two more cards. Like I said, if we drew Fabled and Nozochi, the two more cards can definitely just help, but being able to recycle Reagan is one of my favorite plays that you can do with the deck, and one that I truly enjoy whenever I play the deck. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.